I think music starts from the moment you are born, even if not before, when your mind starts forming.
Okay.
And I was lucky to be surrounded by music. My mother played the piano non-professionally, but my parents loved music, and always when we would have certain celebrations, we would always sing. First my mother would play on the piano, we will sing with my father, and then later on when I got older, I would be the pianist. Mm-hmm. So you see, my parents are not professional musicians, but they gave me this gift of being exposed to music, and that's what I'm actually trying to do with my son. Not necessarily that I would want him to become an artist. If he wants to, that will be great, but if not, that's okay. However, arts is what makes us human, and this is what really makes a civilization. So that's very important, I think, and it should be priority for every country and for every family to have arts in their household. And I was surrounded by this, but then I showed very big interest in the piano, and I started piano lessons when I was probably 6. I loved music. I loved anything about music. I loved the colors, but I was lazy practicing. I really was, and I would achieve a lot of progress in the piano with not so much practicing, actually. And at some point, it wasn't my decision, but my parents said, "So how about if you start taking lessons?" And I said, "Well, sure." So I started taking lessons, and then it really, with the time as I was growing, I was discovering more and more what's so great about making music. And I really, by the time I was 14, 15, I wanted to be a musician. That was my goal. And then I entered a professional music school, and after that the conservatory, and after that things kind of evolved in many different directions. But these were my first steps, and I think what is important, especially for young kids, is for them to have the chance to play with music. Just buy them a couple of toys, and put it around them. They will hit them. They will, play with them. They will try to explore. But all this forms the brain and creates these connections in the brain, especially in the first 5 years of life, when the brain plasticity is developing. That's the time to actually give them this exposure, and later on, of course, nurture it. But I think that's, no matter what you do in your life, starting with music and having this background gives you this amazing perspective of excelling in everything what you do later.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful to hear the stories. There's always this mother or father who passes this on, and I think that there's not many kids under the age of 14 who really want to practice.
Right.
I didn't want to practice either when I was that age.
You want to play soccer, and
soccer
go
with your cars, your G.I. Joes.
Exactly. Yeah, that was. I love this too. Yeah, but you should not force it, but you just should create the environment for it, I think. So I think that's the key.
Wonderful. And so, how old were you when you picked up oboe?
I was about 15, and it's a funny story because I was applying to the music school in Sofia, and they asked me, would you consider possibly playing another instrument, playing an oboe? And apparently they didn't have enough oboists. So I even didn't know what an oboe is back then, I didn't. And I said, sure, that was my answer, and they said, okay. So I had 2 majors in high school, and with the oboe, I loved playing it, and since they didn't have many players, after 1 year of training, they put me a principal chair in the orchestra, and that was really scary. But that was a great experience too. So I had the chance to play in the orchestra, I had the chance to sing in the choir, and this is where I started conducting. I was maybe 16, 17. We had these great teachers that were so supportive, and they would give us the chance to have this experience with the orchestra. So this is where the true passion and love started.
That's wonderful to hear, and wonderful to hear that a program like that exists where you can play piano, oboe, and conduct. Music education is very important.
It was in our country. That was I studied. Well, things were quite separated actually, but I started in a regular school. So I studied biology, chemistry, all these subjects that I think are crucial. You have to have understanding about life. I was very good at mathematics, and I hated it, but it was just coming to me naturally. So I did this too, and languages, of course, as well. And then later on, I specialized a little bit more towards music. But with languages, I guess it never stops. You have to keep studying. Yeah, because it opens a different window as well.
Yes. My wife is Russian, so I'm trying to learn a little bit
of Russian. Yeah, mine too.
Okay. So, and I think they're both named Anna, right?
That's right. Exactly. It's a coincidence. Yeah.
So I'm interested to know. So you mentioned you started these studies in Bulgaria, and then you studied in France and in Paris. When did you come to America, and was that through conducting or through oboe, piano?
Yes, I studied in Bulgaria, and then I studied piano and conducting in France. And after being in France, I got accepted into Juilliard School in the conducting program. And this is when I moved to the United States to study and then work, and it was great. It's great because the United States has arts developed to a level where in every city there is an orchestra. Almost every city has an orchestra. There is great programs in schools. So I think as an artist, you're able to make a living here by doing sometimes by doing different things, and I have done it for a while. I have been teaching piano, I have been playing organ in churches, I have been doing all these different things. Wow. But you're able to make a living with music, and that's very important, and that's not always the case everywhere.
And so after you studied at Juilliard, I know, what was the path between there, and I know you were an assistant to Bernard Haitink at the Chicago Symphony. What was the path to that position? Right.
Well, it has been a long path, but after Juilliard, I took auditions in Memphis. So with the Memphis Symphony, this was my first professional job here in the United States. So I was the music director of the Memphis Youth Symphony program, and I was the assistant conductor, later associate, with the Memphis Symphony. So this gave me great perspective of both worlds of the youth orchestra and also the professional symphony orchestra. And as an assistant, you do everything from sitting in the hall and listening for balances to be ready to step in to conduct educational concerts. And this is also another great system here in the United States that exists, that assistant, associate, young professionals are given the opportunity to gain experience. And then after Memphis, I moved to Seattle. So I was associate conductor with the Seattle Symphony, and that was a very fortunate time in my life. I was given opportunity to conduct maybe over 70 concerts, around 70 concerts with the Seattle Symphony for the 3 years I was there. So it was working with the first class ensemble for so long was very beneficial. So that was pretty much the path that I had, and then now I'm here and I have the orchestra in California. So you have to always continue, and maybe even never feel too comfortable. You have to push yourself as an artist in terms of what you want to do, repertoire that you would like to do, and go further.
Wonderful.